From Content 360, this is the state of client acquisition. Welcome to the State of Client Acquisition. This is your host, Michael Bohannes. In today's episode, I'm joined by my friend Karl Morningstar, and we talk about his outbound and content activities on LinkedIn. The joking in the beginning refers to a joke that I made with him on LinkedIn today, because he asked me if there's anything special, any requirements to join the podcast. And I told him, no, but you have to show up in spandex and a tutu. So that was the little bit of a ha-ha in the beginning. And more importantly, we are covering the 3 outbound prospecting conversations, word by word, that have resulted in clients for me this month. And I think that could be really useful because I've changed my tactic a little bit, and I'm talking about that on the podcast. I'm offering calls a little bit earlier in the process now, and these conversations are a reflection of that. So without further ado, let's get right into this week's episode.
I didn't wear the spandex tutu.
I was
all for that.
I was actually kind of worried. I was thinking a man with 13 children will probably have something lying around the house.
Oh, I will. I do.
And he may actually show up with this, and I don't want to be the only one who doesn't have it. So
we have a clown trunk in the attic with Halloween costumes from 30 years, and we have everything. I
could imagine. Exactly. So I was like, nah, let's not take the risk.
So anyway, good to see you.
Good to see you too. So it seems it's going to be another double conference, you and I.
Oh, well, yeah. But I really, I learn and I love to support, so it's no big deal for me, you know.
Awesome.
And I'm back at it. I'm doing my LinkedIn, and it is working again.
Very good. What has changed for you?
Me, motivation, really. You know,
okay.
I know what I need to do, and I need to do it every single day. And if I do an hour every day, I'm in great shape.
Good. And so what do you do? Do you just start conversations, or do you do content? Do you do both?
Well, my content is done for me, and I'm not happy with it, but it's done for me, and I don't have to worry about it. And so it's lame. It's lame ass content, but it's done for me, and I appreciate it, and I'm not going to complain. So I do reach out, and I have a very specific program of reaching out. I target specific industry. I target specific companies that have just been acquired. Mm-hmm. I figure the people within that organization, there's many of them who are worried about their job, disruption. And they may consider buying a franchise as a way to mitigate that disruption. And so I reach out to them to connect, specific message. And my connection rate is nowhere near yours, but I don't expect it to be. And then once they connect, of course, interesting what I found historically, and I've been doing this for years now. So what I found is that the people who are seriously interested in what I do and have been thinking about owning their own business, I don't get a chance to start a dialogue with them. I connect with them, and their response to me is, I'm interested in talking. My wife and I have always been talking about owning our own business. So I found the right person. I mean, I think you did something recently about, you know, the different kinds of people you're going to find as you do this.
Yeah.
And so I found that to be, it's really very low percentages. But, you know, Michael, our average referral fee last year was $34,000. So I don't need 100 clients.
Yeah, exactly. Although it would be nice. Yeah.
I wouldn't complain. I couldn't work that many deals, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's good to know. So yeah, I mean, you are definitely getting at the shoo-ins, you know, the 0.1% or however many they are of the entire pool that are open to having a conversation, that are essentially easy to sell to. So that's great. And honestly, that speaks to the quality of your LinkedIn profile. The fact that when they connect with you and instantly accept, and then start the conversation themselves saying, where can I buy from you effectively? Right. That means that your positioning, the way how you present yourself on LinkedIn is very good. And that's great.
Yeah. I recently had a guy that engaged with me, actually 2 this week. These people go back years, and I reach out and say happy birthday to them, which I know is the cornball-y thing, but it's got to be the right time and the right person. It can't just be the right person, and sometimes it's the right time. And I noticed the green circle of shame around his look open for work. And so I reached out. I reached out to them and said, hey, I see you're no longer with the company that I told them a year ago was going to fire him. and some of it's just timing. So it's I also do constantly engage with my clients because I track the companies they're with. And anytime there's an interesting article about that company, I send it out to all my first level connections and say, thought you might find this interesting. So I'm nurturing them over time.
Cool.
Because, unlike buying printing or buying Google AdWords, buying a business and changing your whole life is a timing issue more than
absolutely. But for that, and you will probably not love me for saying this, exactly for that, it would be so essential that you provide good content, because this is going to take them a long time. Buying cycle is probably going to be somewhere around like a year or maybe 2. This means that them being familiar with you as someone who publishes really valuable content on starting a business, on whether franchise or not, and so on, that would be very, very crucial. And the fact that you're letting this to be outsourced, I think is in the end hurting more than it's saving you time.
Well, I think you're 100% right. I mean, I think there's a couple areas that I need to work on. One is I do need to work on my profile. My picture is terrible. And so there's no question that I have some areas. And I'm not going to even complain or get upset because you're 100% right. I need to create my own content, and we all have our excuses and a reason. I am running a company though of 20 consultants, so my time on LinkedIn is very limited. But if I compartmentalized and I took an hour that I spend every day on the reach out and took a half hour and did content, you're 100% right.
You could automate a lot of the outreach. Right? You could automate quite a bit of that, and with that save time. And if you could only do once or twice a week content, one written, one video, because people need to see your face as well, like how you talk and mannerisms and so on. All of that, it definitely makes a huge difference. Even if
this will bring it in. I mean, this is. I want to get an actor to do me. Can I? Just create a whole new persona on LinkedIn.
Great, you're gonna be great, and that really makes a difference. Although video views get less, there's fewer video views than text views, makes a huge difference.
I mean, I idolize is the wrong word, but you are my mentor when it comes to the content. You do a great job, and I wish I could do a quarter of what you did.
Thank you. Well, and what is really interesting, and this is interesting for the listeners, Karl is not someone who engages with my content. It's very rare that you would actually engage with it, leave a like or a comment or anything like that. Yet you still enjoy it, right? You like it. And that is so crucial that everybody listening to this really understands. Your target clients, many of them, especially the senior ones, the successful ones. I mean, Karl is running a company with 20 people. These people tend to engage less on content, and it's really crucial to understand. So don't worry if your content is not getting a huge amount of likes. Mine is not getting a huge amount of likes. I'm getting an average of between 10 and 20 likes. Yet reliably, only this month, I onboarded 2 new clients only because of my content. Okay, and 3 other clients with my outbound. And actually that is my agenda for today's podcast episode. I wanted to show you some of the 3 clients that I onboarded. I've anonymized the conversations, and I would like to share them just so that you see how I run my conversations, complete strangers, and how I started the interaction and how I got them to agree to a call. So that's my agenda. But before that, Karl, is there anything else I can help you with? Any other questions
Just
you have?
comment on your last statement. I found I get the most likes on the most trivial, worthless posts I make. You know, the sayings like hard work works hard, or whatever, whatever that. I get the most likes on that. That just tells me that likes don't matter. And the other thing is, and I don't know if you know this, but I save a lot of your articles.
Oh,
And
interesting.
a lot of your posts, because to me, I'll say, what was that? How did he word that? And I'll go back and go to my saved posts, and I'll see how you did it, because that's how you learn and get better. So I don't know if you see, I don't know if there's anyone's tracking the amount of saves.
No.
I think I did read somewhere that it is valuable to LinkedIn. They appreciate a like, and they like comments more, and they also do saves are very important in their their algorithms.
Interesting. That's the first time I'm hearing this. I've never saved a single post or article or anything like that. So that's interesting that you say that.
I save it all the time.
Okay. Well, good to know. And I thank you. I appreciate the compliment. And it's great that it's landing. And it's so interesting to see that this slight stereotype gets confirmed over and over, that people who are particularly successful tend to engage less with stuff. They see it, and then they kind of keep you in mind, yet they won't engage. So I do want to correct that impression of what you said, Karl, that likes don't matter. They do matter, because the more engagement you get, the more you will get seen. But it is much more important to get engagement from the right audience. So I'll tell you, I'd rather have a comment from somebody who's perfectly in my target audience than 100 likes from irrelevant people. Because these irrelevant people are likely to have other irrelevant people in their network, and they will then the post will spread in their networks, and that's why I'm not happy with that. But seeing that I get one passionate, commenter, for example, today was wonderful because I didn't get many likes on today's post, but I got one person who's exactly my target audience saying, "I loved your post. What a valuable post, blah, blah, blah." That's awesome, because that's exactly what I need. Because this person, I don't know if she'll become a client, who knows, but we now have a much better basis of conversation than if I just had 100 likes on hard work works hard or something like that, right? Which tends to fall flat in reality. Ostentatiously, it's great and it's successful, but in reality, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Okay, Karl. So if you're okay with that, I would show you these 3 conversations that I ran, so you can maybe take a hint or two for your own conversation. So let me share my screen. And those of you listening on Spotify or only on audio may want to follow this on video, just watch it on YouTube, or alternatively, I'll read out the most important parts so you can hear how we ran the conversation. Okay, so first, of course, I anonymized all of those. So the first person, I call him Bruce Gerard Cohn. I start the conversation. "Hi, Bruce, great to be connected. I hope we'll bump into each other on occasion on here, and that when we do, you find my musings on client acquisition useful, or at least mildly entertaining. Out of curiosity, if you're running your business full time, are you trying to make it real big? We're talking 6-7 figures, or are you more the work to live type?" Now, that's my standard conversation opener. And Bruce says, "I'm already making 6 figures. So I respond, "That's great, especially given that you're only 1.5 years into your business." So at this point, I looked at his profile and I saw that 1.5 years. So I'm personalizing it. Then I say, "Congratulations. Are you doing it all via one-on-one coaching or also groups?" Bruce says, "Primarily one-on-one, but I'm now starting to do small group coaching as well." So you notice that Bruce is now responding in one-liners. I'm writing a lot and he's responding in one-liners. That's perfectly fine, but it indicates that, and especially because he said that he's already making 6 figures, it indicates that you have a small window of opportunity. Don't mess it up with too many questions. So at this point, because I put these 2 things together, short answers and is already making 6 figures, as a solopreneur, that's quite a lot. I know that I'm talking to a sophisticated person here. So I go straight for the kill, so to speak. And I say, So Bruce says primarily one-on-one. I'm now starting to do small group coaching as well. Then I say, stellar, that sounds like a good plan. Instead of boring you with even more questions, I help successful coaches like yourself scale with premium courses and group coaching programs. So much so that I've moved my entire business from previously one-to-one to now 100% group coaching program. It opens the door to scaling considerably because the time to money ratio improves dramatically with a bank of content that clients can access at any time. I might be able to help you in that transition. Would this be worth a call to you where I could show you the systems I've created for myself and my clients? And Bruce says, sure, I would be open to seeing what you have to offer. So that was a very short conversation that got me a call, and right on the call immediately turned into client. So that was a good example of, and this is a new tactic, so to speak, that I'm employing. And let me give you a little bit of a theory here. My original approach to LinkedIn conversations was that I don't want to waste my time with people on the phone, because I had, back in the summer, I've had many, many conversations where it just didn't go anywhere. And I just don't like it, because sales calls take a lot of energy, right? This messaging back and forth is not very exhausting, but a good sales call really takes a lot of energy out of you. So I try to minimize these kinds of false positives, people who come on a call who look like they could be a good client, but then turn out not to be. So I wanted to minimize that. And for that purpose, in the last half of 2020, I started to qualify much more. I essentially asked many questions on the conversations, and only when I felt that really this could be someone, then I offered them a call. Now, this gets you the risk of many false negatives, that you actually may weed out too many people who would have been potential clients, and you do that by asking too many questions. At some point, some people will get sick of it and not want to answer any more questions with you. So this is a fine balance that you have to strike there. So that was my approach in the second half of 2020, and it worked fine. My conversion rate improved considerably. But what happened now in this first quarter of 2021 was that my processes have become so good now that I have now a system of showing people videos that help them disqualify themselves. So once I set a call, I send them a request to watch a 7-minute video, and that 7-minute video sort of pushes them out of the call. I'm telling them, hey, if you do, this is how we do, this is what we do, this is how we work. If you don't fit these criteria, please cancel the call, right? And that is really good because some people actually cancel the call after that. And so that's how I'm saving myself call times with irrelevant people. And then those who come on the 15-minute call then are highly relevant. And my conversion rate has improved. And I can now, in these conversations, be again much more open and offer more calls. Okay, so I can go back to my original tactic of offering calls earlier in the process, not qualifying as much, because the people who otherwise would have been disqualified on the call, I can now disqualify them with the video. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, good. Okay, so that was example number 1. Let me take you through the next person, Andy Ross. Andy. I say, hi, Andy, good to be connected. Curious, did anything in my profile catch your attention? So Andy was an interesting example because he connected with me, but it was not really an inbound conversation because I had to run the whole thing, right? I had to ask the question. So sometimes people connect with you, and by asking them, hey, did anything in my profile catch your attention? You open up the conversation, so to speak. You open the floodgates. Because some people will just have this vague feeling of, geez, yeah, I need some help in this area. I just don't really know how to get started. So you help them. You give them the onboarding ramp, so to speak. So Andy responds, hi, Michael. From memory, I think I was accepting an invite request and accepted since we seem to operate in the same area. It doesn't matter. He was wrong there. He invited me. It doesn't matter. And then he says, I've recently relocated to Lisbon to partner here with early stage growth businesses and assist with their evolution and strategic direction for additional capital investment. I say, interesting, Andy, that you're relocated for that. Do you believe that physical presence will help you in executing? Or was it just a lucky coincidence and the chance to recharge your solar batteries after 18 years in London? Smiley face. Always get a little bit of, I'm showing him that I have looked at how long he has been in London and, bringing in a tiny bit of, humor, levity, and so on. He responds, as an English German, the toxic Brexit environment and COVID has been extremely problematic, and London will certainly suffer. And all of my projects have been EMEA, international versus UK. So it was a question of which place in Europe I wanted to relocate to. And then he mentions why it was Lisbon. I'm not going to go into the details here. And then he says, fingers crossed, things will soon improve. So he tells me quite a bit about his relocation. Then I say, oh, wow, what a story. And with your name, I surely wouldn't have assumed you're part German. Well, no one really knows how to get a handle on COVID, but I'm confident things will return to normal soon. It's important that you take into account what they said. He talked a lot about COVID in his last message, and I couldn't care less about talking about COVID with people on LinkedIn, but you have to acknowledge them, right? Otherwise, it would seem a little bit rude if you don't somehow acknowledge it. If you just go into your agenda, it's a bit rude, right? So you have to indulge them. And then I say, vaccines, summer, we will be fine. And then I ask, how's business? Have you been able to set up work remotely well? He answers, I completed my last project just before last lockdown, and the plan was to begin biz dev whilst doing that. So that hasn't happened. Remote and Zoom networking is much more challenging. Let's see when things reopen, but I have a couple potential clients in the pipeline. How about you? And then I say, luckily, my business is very well positioned for the pandemic and lockdowns as I work completely remotely, and I help people develop prospecting, content, and sales skills for B2B selling scenarios. And here again, I need to end the conversation. I cannot let it run for so long. He's asking me, how are you? How did it work for you? I'm now with this last part that I read out, I'm kind of turning the direction into let's talk, because I can tell from what he's telling me, he has problems and I'm sure I could help him. So let's get on a call. And then I say, since you mentioned that this is challenging for you, how about we jump on Zoom and I show you the system I've built and we can see if this is something you'd be interested in. Worst case, I can share a couple of tips about, a couple of tips for your LinkedIn activity. I already have a list of ideas for you because I looked at his content and his profile and I knew that there would be a couple of tips that I could give him. And then he says, sure, let's do it, blah, blah. I'm not going to bore you with the details. So that was another conversation. And this is actually a good line that I recommended you use, which is, how about we jump on Zoom and I show you the system I've built? This thing of, let's have a conversation and I'll show you my systems is really powerful. And you can use it even if you don't have theoretically a system in place, right? Everybody has some kind of system of how they do things. So, and my sales call does not really change with this, maybe a little bit. I'm a little bit more open to sharing more about how we work, but I don't, I still don't change the sales call overall, right? It's still, I'm asking them questions. And if I think that they could be a potential fit, then I talk to them about my solution, right? It's very straightforward. But this line, let's jump on Zoom and I show you the system, is pretty good because it allows you to get them on board and for them to lower their guard. Okay, so I recommend that you use this line to just get people on an exploratory call. And especially if you are early on in your LinkedIn business development journey, using this line is really useful, especially if you can package into it some kind of, hey, I'm still in exploration mode. I would love to get your feedback on the systems I've built, blah, blah, blah. Because then again, their guard will be even lowered, right? Lowered even more. Good, so that was Andy. And let's look at the last example. Here, this is a good example of someone who's really no nonsense and you have to adjust your style to them. So let's go. I say, hi, Jim, from one solopreneur to another, would be great to connect. That's my standard line for outbound. Works pretty well. I'm getting a 40% accept rate on that. Jim says, sure, happy to expand my network. And then I say, hey, Jim, good to be connected. And I remark on his background image on LinkedIn. Love that background image of yours. Few people invest in creating something like this and it makes a difference. Or unless you found a really good stock image for free, that's also a possibility. Smiley face. I'm curious, what's keeping you busier these days? And because he was listed as working at 2 companies, so I just ask, is it company 1 or company 2? Of course, I use the names, but I'm not going to share them here. Jim says, company 1 is a client of company 2, so company 2 right now. Are you talking about my LinkedIn image or website or company LinkedIn page? I respond, no, I meant your profile background image, the ships and containers, very evocative. I strongly recommend that to people. I strongly recommend that people use their background image, not to sell, but to be evocative, to work on the subliminal. And you're doing this very well. And then I say, okay, so you're listing a client. Got it. Do you have more clients at the same time, or do you work full time for one client before you move on? That's a qualifying question, right? I want to know if this is a guy who essentially just works for one client full time. He's not a good fit for me because I need somebody who wants clients, more and more and more, right? So it's a qualifying question. Jim says, I guess a few Daniel Pink books paid off for a supply chain mind. I have multiple clients, only one with this unique ask. And then look at what he says. He says, I value my time and I value yours. Please be direct. What are you looking for? Is that awesome, right? This guy just wants no nonsense. Hey, give me your spiel or pitch, but don't waste my time. So I think awesome. In my past, I would have frozen. Oh my God, he's saying something. He's saying something a little bit kind of like more confrontative. Like now I relish it. I say, no problem, Jim. I help consultants with A, getting new clients on LinkedIn, and B, scaling their offering via product packages. I normally ask a few questions whether there's a need before mentioning that, but you've asked. Smiley face. So I'm wondering if the above is something you could make use of. Jim responds, well, I don't think many people would turn down new clients, so it's hard to argue I do not need A. The question is always the ROI or return on time for me. And then I see, okay, now I really need to make this quick because Jim is obviously busy and I don't want to bore him with too many more questions. So I'm saying 2 quick questions, 100% mindful of your time. Number 1, what are you currently doing to get new clients and what's the ROI on that? And 2, how much time and money are you spending on new client acquisition? And why am I asking that? I just want to know what works for him right now. If the pain is big enough that my method would offer him a clearly better ROI, right? And then Jim says, well, number 1, what am I doing? Leveraging my network, leveraging job boards to understand client needs and word of mouth. And those are 2 signals for me. Leveraging network and word of mouth is always a sign that they don't really have a system, right? Because it's very haphazard. Network and word of mind, you cannot predict that. It's nice if it comes, but it's not a system to get clients. So that already tells me definitely get that guy on a call. And then number 2, he says, no money, but time invested is typically in a fairly strong lead that can deliver a face-to-face. So essentially he's doing some outbound prospecting. So my response is, and now I know just, okay, I have 1 shot. I cannot ask any more questions. So I say, got it. Thank you. That opens up even more questions, but I'll let you judge for yourself whether the following is worth a 15-minute exploration call. Network is great, but it tends to be unpredictable and dry up over time for most consultants. It's great when it happens, but what will you do when it doesn't? For the time when it doesn't, I have created a system of organic client acquisition on LinkedIn via personalized outbound and content. Content is a long-term game, looking for that secret key to unlock easy inbound leads at scale. And in the short run, outbound can get you clients pretty instantly. My best clients in this regard had a client within 2 weeks of working with me, Dana Hura in my testimonials. So here I drop a little bit of social proof because he can see my interview with Dana and how she got herself a client within a couple of weeks of working with me. So I drop that in. So I'm telling him essentially, let's have a quick 15-minute exploration call. And I set it up at the top of this message. So that's it. That's my kind of Hail Mary, but I'm optimistic with this Hail Mary. A couple of minutes later, he responds, I'm available at these and these times. The best email is set up the call with me here. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. So it was an absolute clear shoe in. He absolutely needed my help and he's a happy client as we speak. Cool. So those were the 3 outbound prospecting calls that I got the 3 outbound prospecting clients that I got this month so far. And this is how it works. Any questions around this, Karl?
Well, question about the conversation, the speed of the conversation. Do you wait to reach out to people till they're on LinkedIn, till the green dot is there, or
No.
you just waited? I think you said in one of your posts, a day after they connect, the next day you are reaching out to them to start the conversation. I think that was you who said that.
I don't think it matters. What I would not do, the only thing I would avoid doing is as soon as they connect to immediately start a conversation. That just looks weird. Either if it's personalized, it looks like you'd have nothing better to do. And if it's then with a sort of generic message, then they think it's just immediately automated.
Yeah.
So I would suggest you just let them accumulate, and work your way as they come into your network. Just work them from the bottom up rather than from the top down.
Now, do you, when you reach out to someone and the conversation starts and you have a couple of back and forths and then it goes dark, is there anything you do? Or do you just take that to mean he's not a good prospect?
I do different things. It also depends on how busy I am with other things. Generally, I only do that if I had the impression that they were a really good fit. Right. So in that case, I do chase them up once and I say something like, hey, did you have time? Would love to know if you'd like to answer my last question.
Yeah.
Something like this with a smiley face, always with a little smiley there, just so that they can get back to you. And then if they don't, then maybe what you could do, but I haven't done that in quite a while, is then to just give them like a very, very soft pitch. Like, hey, I haven't heard from you back. No problem. Maybe you're busy. Just FYI, I help people to blah, blah, blah. It would be great if this is an issue. I'd love to talk. If not, wishing you much success for the rest of the year. Something like that. Right?
Do you take connections that don't engage and do anything with them long term, like capture their email? I've been capturing their email addresses and I have them in an email drip campaign. Is that something you do, or? No.
I just I do believe in long-term relationship building. Like there's several instances of people who I've added, and many months, if not years later, they emerged and some point they start liking my content. So for these, good content is again very important. But no, I don't do anything with them. But honestly, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't, because again, your customer lifetime value is much higher. So I think you need to value these people more. Right? You said 30-something thousand on average. Exactly. Yeah. For me, it's at this point, it's anywhere between 5,000 and 7,000. So this means, it's lower.
You got to do it more often.
Exactly.
That's good though. I mean, it's great. I appreciate that. The one line that you pointed out earlier, it's going to help.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Awesome. Well, with that, if you don't have any further questions, then thank you for coming in. Always great seeing you, Karl.
Good seeing you. I try to make them on Wednesdays. It's a good day.
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it.
Bye. The State of Client Acquisition is a Content 360 production. Music by Gavin Knox-Graham. To sign up for alerts and to submit written and audio questions, go to stateofclientacquisition.com. Unless I announce it otherwise, the live podcast is recorded on Wednesdays each week at 7 p.m. Central European Time. That's 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 10 a.m. Pacific. And you can always join by going to www.talktomichael.com. That's Michael without an E. But if you sign up at the podcast page, you'll get the link in an email each week. I'll talk to you in the next episode.
Infinite numbers, rapid fire across the country.